Hey, welcome back. Final segment. As promised, Stef Lowe joins us. She covers Aztecs football for the UT. Welcome, Stef.
Thank you.
You've been out at San Diego State spring practice.
Yes, last week.
February, now it's March, but it's always football time. And that's cool because Stef covers a team that just went to its third straight bowl. They're going, what, 4 days a week until the spring game on March 23rd? Yeah,
that's right. Journalists are allowed to go to 2 practices a week so far, so we've seen...
Do you get to pick them?
2. No.
Hey, Rocky, I'm going to show up today.
So some changes, though. New offensive coordinator, Bob Toledo. I hear that he's kind of breaking them in. They're breaking him in. New terminology, new way of getting used to some things.
Yeah, his offense actually, when you watch it, doesn't look all that different from what they've been doing, because I think that was the idea. Rocky wanted to bring in a guy who could kind of maintain some of the principles so that it wouldn't be this drastic shift to anything new. But they're definitely, you can tell that there's a West Coast flavor to it.
Yes.
They're definitely doing a lot more like 3-step drops, just short passes, and he said that he wants to do a lot more passing.
And I used to cover the college, and then you go to the NFL, and the NFL, they spend all day, every day, it's their job. College kids, the terminology is a big deal.
Yeah,
they're just learning it.
Exactly, and so that's why the idea, I think, is to have everything installed by the end of this week. That's what they're saying. It's going to take a while. The good thing is that there isn't too much of a difference. Some of the terminology is different, but because, Toledo comes from sort of the same school of thought that, well, you could say Ludwig comes from the same school of thought that Toledo did. It's not too drastic, which is what's helping them so far.
The old offensive coordinator went to Wisconsin.
Exactly.
Who you're referring to here. And Bob Toledo, by way of, well, all sorts of places, but UCLA, we here know him best for.
Well, interesting because, we were all thinking Adam Dingwall just comes in, gets the job, no problem, but there's 6 quarterbacks taking snaps from 3 centers. That's just got to be a mess out there right now. Like, as far as, at some point you got to be able to narrow that down for repetition's sake.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do is come out of spring with a defined starter and backup. That's what it sounds like they're trying to do, because you can't give 6 quarterbacks enough reps for anybody.
So wait a minute, Dingwell does what he did last year. Comes in for Ryan Katz, leads them on this great win streak. He made plays, and he doesn't have the job locked up. Tell me about this competition.
I think what Dingwell showed last year is that he can play. He showed that he's a perfectly serviceable replacement, and he had some really good games. But I think what they're looking for too is also that extra spark, the guy who can take a guy on his back. Take a team on his back and win games for them. And I don't know if you've seen Dingwall actually do that for sure yet. So that's why I think the job is still open. I mean, the coaches are all saying it's still an open competition. There's Dingwall, there's redshirt freshman Matt Marin, and there's also Chad Jeffries, who's a redshirt sophomore. And they all look pretty good right now.
So Rocky's trying to find out if he has a Colin Kaepernick. Jim Harbaugh replacing a perfectly serviceable Alex Smith with Colin Kaepernick.
It's the X factor, right? That's what everybody wants. Yep.
And competition is always good. Competition breeds, better playing. So
they're also looking for a tight end.
Yes, they're looking for a tight end to replace Gavin Escobar, who's hoping to get drafted.
He will.
But I think at the moment, Robert Craighead looks really good. He is a guy who started out at tight end, and then was converted to defensive line last year, and now was asked to convert back to tight end because they needed people at the position. What Rocky Long said last week was that, he's a guy who looks like he can block. He's a nice big kid, but they want to know if he could catch. And from what we've seen in practice last week, he can catch just fine. So that looks pretty good so far.
And also another guy that we talked to at the Combine, Darren McFadden. So how's the cornerback situation
looking?
Leon, I'm sorry, it's Leon.
I do that all the time.
Exactly. I think the cornerback position is where, to me, the biggest question mark lies. Because for one thing, so King Holder played. He started 1 game for them last year, but played back up to Josh Wade a lot. And he is out of spring, recuperating from shoulder surgery. So they're running currently with J.J. Whitaker, who was injured the last 3 seasons. He's been probably the most unlucky kid on the face of the planet. So they're running with him and Pierre Romain at cornerback. And I would say that they're hoping that some of the freshmen can come in and make an impact. That's where I think you could see somebody playing early.
It's a good hope. You liked their recruiting class.
I did, and they have a lot of big corners coming in, which is exciting.
They really brought in a lot, didn't they?
And there's been 3 or 4 guys, I believe, that haven't been practicing at all. They've been asked not to practice. So what's the story there? It sounds like they're kind of in a timeout.
So 3 guys named and 1 who has not been named because Rocky Long does not want to release a name. But Seamus McMorrow, the kicker, who was pretty stellar at the punting and kickoffs positions last year. He is one of the guys who's not at spring practice for what Rocky calls a violation of team rules, and whether or not he and Darius Guillory, who is a cornerback, and Larry Clark, who's a wide receiver, whether or not they'll be reinstated will be determined by the end of spring based on whether or not they fulfill a list of requirements that Rocky says he sort of laid down for them.
Okay, Rocky's no nonsense. I believe him. I believe him.
How's the defense looking for you?
The defense is looking really good. I think this linebacking core, they return all their linebackers. You have Jake Feely, you have Derek Largent, and Nick Tenhoff. And you know, they're looking huge for one thing. I think they've put on some muscle in the offseason already, and they're looking really solid. And you know, I mean, at this stage of the game, the defense is always ahead of the offense, especially because of the new offense and the new terminology.
Absolutely.
So they're gonna look really good. But I think they have a great defense coming back. The only missing component, cornerback.
Cornerback, and that's a pretty good. So that'll be big. You'll be writing about that this spring and in the summer.
Exactly.
So right on. Hey, thanks for coming in. March 23rd, spring game. It's out there at the, what do we call that? The practice field, right?
The practice field.
We call it out at the practice
I don't
field.
think there's an actual name for it. It's
yeah, I used to cover the Aztecs. I didn't think there was ever a name for it. March 23rd, and 4 days a week till then. You only get to go 2 days, though.
I know.
Do the fans get to go at all?
No. It's
None.
closed.
Zero.
So
because in the spring, you might give away something.
Exactly. Imagine that.
So
the terminology.
Twitter handle at
Stephanie Lowe.
There we go.
I follow her.
I know.
I don't know what her handle is, but I follow her. Okay.
I was letting her
hey,
tell people.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Steph.
Aztecs football. We'll put this baby online too for people to watch. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow, which is Tuesday.
Thanks for watching. Thank you. You're so smart.